This project is a project we have completed last year. At the end of December 2022, and the reason of this project generally, started from the request of the client. The client come and he would like to have a house with wide views. He was talking about these wide views. He didn't, and then he showed us the plot he had chosen. He had already bought to make this house, and was really a narrow and elongated plot that was facing a blind street in a typical suburban neighborhood, and so the first reaction we had, was, okay, how to relate, to this context, that was really low density with all these, scattered monofamiliar houses, with their garden, with their fence, and everything, that was talking all, but not about, relationship, between this object, So it's also for us as architect, was difficult to say how to, to confront, this kind of context. And so, our, and then, there was this needs for the client for these wide views. So, our answer in this case, was making something that was really, in a way, introverted space, that was that all the spaces were organized around two courtyards that are in a kind of relationship of diagonal symmetry between them. And so all the spaces, most of the spaces open up, on this courtyard. And then, and in this way, we could realize, a really mute, how to say, building, something that had also, in a way, a character completely different from what was, close to it. That was, villa with, all the window and the door and the garden, and in this way also cheating a little bit on the real scale of space, because when you are in front of the building, you cannot really, understand, how the house is organized, how the space work, how big they are, and also this cheating a little bit on the real scale of architecture are all, in a way, conscious expression of a general attempt to place this new construction in a critical relationship with weird suburban domesticity of the surroundings. It's, in a way, it's also a little bit a critique to what is there, and establishing no relationship with what is there, simply because there are no relationship. In fact, you can establish with the street. So so this kind of working on an abstract device, it's also a way to try to give an answer to what today could means be confronted with some European suburban context where the relationship are so poor, I would say also inexistent at all. And so all the houses, primary space organized on the ground floor. Then there is on the first floor there is a setback volumes dedicated to work and studies. And then here, you can see how the external space works. And then there are some photos from the interior. that of course, also in this case, this is a project that then, also in Divisare and the Archdaily and other platform has been, has been diffused, like a project, and probably this project, will as also, being appreciated, I don't know, for the interior, because of course, also the work of the interior was important for us. There was, some detail works. There are many, custom-made furnishing. But finally, this was important. Of course, we passionated also about this work. But finally, what's left, what was more important for us, it was this general reflection, once again about the typology. That's the reason we finally, when we described, this also in the description that accompanies the project, we described this project like a little bit an erratic rock, downed in the suburban context. It's something that intentionally, try to work, as an autonomous element a little bit in the suburban context, and also working with this courtyard. When I was on the construction site, and I used to spend maybe the whole day in the construction site. Sometimes you could even forget about the outside sometimes, because you were so focused on this internal space that. But on the same time, then there is the garden. There is this lively garden that is really giving, enriching the space out there. In fact, also the clients, just today at lunchtime, he sent me a beautiful photo of the main tree in front of the door. This one that was in the photo. This one that now, I mean, this was winter, but now this tree is full of flower, of pink flower, and they sent me a photo. That's wonderful flower, And so I think, and he told me that all the neighbors, are saying him, what a wonderful garden, because then he make, we involved also a landscape architect who designed the garden in a really nice way. So I think, the house finally, tried to give its contribution to the neighbors, but at the same time, it's also, a way of reflecting and criticizing a condition that, of course, is not related to the single house, but it's a way also of questioning, our way of constructing the modern and the suburban city. And then there is just one aspect, might be, also related to this photo, that I would like also to underline, that is another aspect that was important for us in the process of this work. And this, the way of construction, this house, because finally, this house is made up of reinforced concrete structure. I mean, there is this reinforced concrete structure, but it's just punctual. So there is a frame, a reinforced concrete frame, and then all the filled part are just made out with honey brick. So and this it was important because when I've been working in Switzerland, I mean, in Switzerland they used to use the concrete as main material, and so the wall as at the same time bearing wall, but also separating wall, and often they are full made of concrete. In this case, I had also with this house the opportunity to really confrontate with the construction industry in Italy, that finally, it's as still a very familiar organization. And this main based, on this reinforced concrete frame construction, which basically limits the use of concrete to strictly structural part and fills over the other voids, with bricks. And this, tradition was originating during the fascism in Italy, because, the iron was really, in short supply due to the autarkia, and while, bricks were produced in Italy, so this tradition then, consolidated over time, and in a way represented also an Italian way to express, modernity, that because, this really this prevalence of full parts to the voids parts, is not agreed, generally agreed, like, you could find, I don't know, in the northern Europe, it's something that still has a more Mediterranean way of expressing architecture, because the full part prevails on the voids, and this is something, that I was really, fascinated, So I tried, to get in a kind of continuity, with this tradition. And this is also the reason that we choose to put all the thermal insulation inside, and to keep, all the outside, with bricks covered. When the house, was in the raw phases, the house, also the also the columns in concrete, everything, was covered by bricks, So at that point, the house was completely red. And, over this continuous surface, we had the opportunity to work with a 3.5 centimeter thick plaster that it's all made of hydraulic lime. And so, it's the way the plaster was made, in traditional architecture in Italy, and is completely different, in the deepness of the facade, but also, in the general consistency of the building, that, having like the thermal coat with a really, really thin, straight of plaster on, that was something, so there is also this research, about the construction, and putting ourselves, in a way, founding our place, a little bit within this, old Italian tradition, that was something also that amused us, during the process.
Was this by using this brick, is it like locally sourced and easily acquired these days?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is brick, it's really normal brick used in the construction. It's like light brick, they are called, because finally, they are like with alveolar structure that makes, the air pass, there are, like, it's a brick, a thick brick, but, with many holes inside, they make it, lighter, and also with a more powerful, insulation power, because there is air behind, in. And, it's something, of course, industrial. I mean, it's industrially produced. And, so it's not, a manufactured, project, by hand. So it's really, cheap material, finally. But, it was more about, the reflection was more about, okay, what we make, we make something that, it's it's a concrete, I mean, it's a way of intending the use of concrete in a substantially masonry way, you know. Finally, this architecture, that's the reason I was, you know, underlining that at a moment, the whole house, also the beams and the pillars and everything in concrete was covered, you know, by these bricks in different, of course, thickness. Because finally, first of all, because we needed to have a continuous surface on which then applying the plaster, but also, you know, because of the intention that finally, I mean, the role of concrete was a little bit in a way denied. I mean, because also the way the house is constructed, you know, talks more of a masonry logic that on a concrete logic, you know. So it was it was more a way also of declining, you know, this Italian way to modernity that has been, you know, really characterized by this approach. And this was, you know, partially, as always in history, you know, this was partially intentional, but also partially a derivation, direct derivation of some, you know, economical and political condition that was in Italy, you know, under the fascism. You could not, you know, get iron. That's the reason, you know, concrete had to be, you know, used under, you know, a kind of masonry logic, because couldn't, you know, rely on iron, you know, so much.
I see.
So this was, you know, something, yeah, that was important for us in the process.
And you know, one thing that caught my eyes for this project is everything blends together very well. Vincenzo, can you say that this house is a sample of your idea about the form that you mentioned before?
Yeah. In fact, yeah. I mean, this observation you make that everything, you know, blends really well. Yeah, it's something we were really searching, you know, for. So everything, you know, for example, this, you know, we really paid, you know, a lot of attention and a lot of research. You know, for example, the research about this plaster was really, you know, long, and, you know, in some moment also frustrating research, you know, because we need to find, you know, the right color, and then, you know, the right texture, and then, you know, at starts, you know, we really found a stone, natural stone, that is a calcarean stone from Vicenza in Italy. And it's the one, for example, we use it in the pavement. The pavement, this bench, everything, you know, is made out of this calcarean stone. Also, this stone is used, you know, in thick and big pieces, in order, you know, to keep this, you know, sense of unity, and then to make, you know, the dialogue between the stone and the plaster really effective. You know, everything, you know, was a research, because finally we thought also the volume of this house as a unity. In a way, you know, our ambition was to work on a space that finally could look also a little bit an excavated space, you know. So the space of this courtyard is finally, you know, are finally two voids within these big volumes, and also the setback part, it's another, you know, abstract volume. So everything, you know, we wanted that everything, you know, could talk about a unit, just because this was our idea of form, but our idea of form related to the reason of the context I was mentioning before. We wanted this also, when we were trying also to persuade a little bit the client, about the garden. We were saying, okay, but look, I mean, the garden will be really, then powerful, really colored and really rich, and this will be stronger if the house keep to be really abstract, really unitarian, really if go on working as a wall, and this is finally something that he really appreciated, and was finally our answer to how to interpret the theme of a single family house with garden, because finally it's also this, but in our way, the garden as the people, also the fence, the fence is really light, and finally it makes garden participate, on the life, on the street. And we really insisted also because, sometimes these themes, this necessity of privacies that are really, really, strong in all the people are the really, guiding principle of architecture, because then, they make houses with many, big windows on the street. And then, they put big fences, or they put, for example, like, how to say, row of high trees, just in order to not make people look in your windows, And that was exactly what we were trying, to reverse. We say to the client, okay, we will make an house that is all introverted, but finally we will be able to give also the people who are, walking in this, neighborhood, the opportunity to have a wall, a nice wall. Nobody will look into your house, and then, the garden as no more. You have no more necessity to have, high fence. In fact, the client was really suddenly, agree with us. We said, but you cannot make, big fences because they have no sense anymore. You have already this wall that is completely blind, And so we had the opportunity to make no fence and to have a garden, that is more spontaneous. That finally, also the people outside could, enjoy this garden. And we are really happy, hearing that this is happening. It told me, all the neighbors told me, what a wonderful garden. So this is something, that really, in a way, make us think that something worked, in this way of saying, okay, we will give you the privacy in this way, but we will make something that, will work as in a way also as a contact space with the outside, while taking, a critical position towards it. So it's also a way of balancing, things.
Yeah, that's something new, because usually when people would like a house, they just focus on the life inside. But in your case, you also consider the neighbors. In fact, like they also appreciate the garden. So this is really something I think new that I've heard from a designer perspective. So what about the courtyard? I believe is this like an effort to like create something like an open space within and yet maintain a level of privacy, or is there more to the court? I believe you have two courtyards in the house.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will show better here. Yeah, there is one courtyard that is, I would say, the living courtyard. So there is the kitchen and the living part of the house that is facing this courtyard. And then there is another courtyard that is completely dedicated to the master bedroom. Also because, then there are other two bedrooms, but that are looking in the space behind. So yeah, this courtyard is finally also in the way they are worked out in section, so that finally the windows are full open windows, so it takes the same height of the upper floor. So everything is made in the sense that this courtyard could be a kind of an extension of the house itself, So also then there are two moments where this courtyard opens up. This is one of these two moments, opens up towards the garden, so that you could also, experience the garden from the courtyard, and there is, this relationship created with the courtyard. So it's finally really an extension of the space, and I think they are they are really pretty vivid at the moment, as especially in this, of course, in this season, but also, in the winter time, when I've been there with Francesca Ióvene, that is the photographer who took this picture. This courtyard has a kind of internal room, There was this, this Italian, designer, maybe from 50s, Gio Ponti, that, called the courtyard as a typical Mediterranean devices, stanza incelata, that translating it's difficult to translate in English, but it means a room provided, having the sky as a roof, So it's finally a room, It's an external room having the sky as a roof, and this, I think, provide a special quality to the house, and it's also a really, Mediterranean devices that I, then in the project sometimes, as I was saying, came also at the start of our discussion, in the project sometimes, comes also memories, and comes also, personal obsession in a way, and I grew up in southern Italy, that it's much more a Mediterranean, environment than northern Italy. And also the diffusion of courtyards as an external space that you daily live, and play and do everything there, it's really present, So sometimes, also in your project, of course you carry also some things that they comes from your life, from your childhood, from your memories, and then, when these things, also meets, the needs of clients, this is nice, it's something that really works, In fact, also the clients, then, in the 2 years of construction of this house, more than a time told me, okay, but I really, choose you because of this courtyard, This was, he was telling me all the time, this courtyard was, then I never, of course, told him all what I am saying you, for example, the relationship with the context, clients is not an architect, maybe, is not interested in this really theoretical discourse, but for him, what was important, what, hit his, feeling was this courtyard, in a way, he really appreciate this courtyard. He already in the rendering, in the drawing, he could imagine, the life in this courtyard. And so, the meeting point was there, I think, So I think that the courtyard finally, were the engine, of the project in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I the thing that I really love is that you're able to pull back from your childhood, like nostalgic aspects of it, and put it here in the design, which is like a really like a personal thing, and I really like that. Something that I appreciate as like when artists do that, and especially designers, and then also that you were able to put here like aspects of your culture and tradition into your building, even on a modern building. So yeah, I'm myself just looking at it, I already love the courtiers, even if I haven't experienced it.
Thank you.
So
Yes, it's
yes.
very minimalistic, but it has a lot to say. I can imagine you can sit here and look at this tree for hours and just enjoy.
Yeah.
And earlier you mentioned custom furniture. Can we have a quick look into interior details this house?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's this kind of custom detail. I mean, they are not really, also, I mean, these detail are finally, work out with some furniture makers, but finally they are really simple according to the general atmosphere of the house. Then also, I mean, the industrial, for example, this kitchen, all the industry that are more kitchen that comes from the industrial part are customized in a way also, for example, to reach the heights of the ceiling, because we did want this for example, this kitchen to work out as a wall as well, so it's this kind of customization. Or for example, there are some detail, like all these ironworks that has been made, in for the entrances, and also there is a kind of customization of in the choice of windows. For example, here in this entrance door, we really wanted that the entrance could reach the same height of the ceiling, and in order to make it, I will go quick to a detail that is at the end of this presentation. In order to reach, for example, this effect, we need to make something like this, that the windows is reaching the upper part of the slabs, and then there is a curtain that is covering the head of the slab, in order to make it disappear. So this is a way, this was a way for us to make it's kind of customization, because of course this window and also this door is finally 3.7 meter height, so it's big one, and we need to work out with all the manufacturer in order to make this work possible. Then I have to say that we were really lucky on this project, because we could find really skilled person. And I also realized that when people could feel also your interest in the project, could experience your enthusiasm also in the process, this became something that is really spreading a little bit. So I can say that all these manufacturers finally were really involved in the project, and they were really sometimes complaining a little bit at starts of this weird request, but finally they were really they were really enthusiastic, and I think, you know, that without their cooperation, we couldn't have reached, you know, such, you know, such results, you know. So, for example, also having, you know, this fence, you know, this and trails, you know, inside was something that for us was important, because generally, I mean, this protection is put outside, but we really wanted this to be inside, because we want to preserve the unity of the windows outside, and to give, you know, these windows a stronger presence, as you can see in this image, you know, that became something that is more unitarian, more, you know, pure in a way. So this is the kind, you know, of detail I was, you know, talking. Or, for example, this door that is, you know, is a double door that is like pivoting door. So it means that is moving, you know, on a pivot that is in the flooring and in the ceiling. And when the two door rotates, they compose a single door. So the head of the wall is completely, you know, behind the door, and you cannot perceive anymore the head of the wall, you know, behind. So there are all these small, you know, details, you know, that
and this small skylight in the ceiling is very interesting. How you bring natural light into this corridor.
Yeah. This was finally the only point where we had no light, and I can say that this was a really happy intuition from a collaborator on the project, that, you know, had this intuition to put this skylight, and we were soon, you know, enthusiastic about this. Yeah.
Or I've seen the plan. Is this house for like a family of 4 people, I believe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is I think this is such a pleasure for us that you were able to share this design insights about this house. I'm sure the not only us, but people who will be viewing this would also love this house that you have designed.